Well, friends, welcome back. Let us continue our discussion on financing this. We are discussing about various sources of long-term finance. I was sharing a chart with you. Let me share that picture again. Give me a second for that. Yes, this is what I was sharing with you, that how capital structure decisions or financing decisions are linked with capital budgeting decisions. This thing we had already discussed. Now, friends, let us move ahead. Yeah. Now, let us start with these features of long-term finance. There are some points appearing before your screen. Let us read it fast, then I will try to explain. Point number one, it talks about that this long-term financing decisions involves financing for fixed capital required for investment in non-current assets. Let me try to explain you what does it mean. So if you do a business, you need some current asset as well as non-current asset. Non-current asset, it might be a new term for you. Just try to understand it like fixed asset. Fixed asset, non-current asset is similar to fixed asset. Of course, there is little difference between these two. Non-current asset means current asset or fixed asset. The business, you need plant and machinery, land, building. So all these are the non-current asset and fixed assets, for which you need some kind of finance. So we need long-term finance because these assets will last for long term. So if you take short-term finance and use it for this business, use it for acquiring this kind of asset, then you'll be facing some difficulty. So about suppose a machine लगेबो, ଗୋଟେ short term finance जोटा वर्ष भीतर पे କରିବାକୁ पड़िବ से भଳିଆ finance arrange करछे. So वर्ष पर से लोक मागिबो, तम machine सेते cash flow or profit generate करि नथियो. किमित तक सुझिबो. So you need long term finance. So long term finances are generally used and generally required for non-current assets. That means for fixed assets. And this is obtained from the capital market. In the capital market, various types of financial instruments are there. You have to buy some of these instruments, maybe equity, maybe debt. And whatever you do, if you take a decision that you will go for debt or you will go for equity, it will be having long-term impact on the business. Business is that long-term impact, right? कारण तम जदि गोटे 8 वर्ष लोन नहीं 8 वर्ष तम प्रॉफिट तो अफेक्टेड हो 8 वर्ष तम इंटरेस्ट दो सो लॉन्ग टर्म इंपैक्ट दैट राइट generally long term finance is used for big project expansion plans, increasing productions, for this kind of requirement when it is there. So normally the promoters or the businessmen, they go for long term finance. Okay, and sometimes for working capital also. Working capital means for your day-to-day requirement. For day-to-day requirement also, long-term finances are used because it's part of the working capital. Because part of the working capital means part of the day-to-day requirement is permanent. So a long-term source may be used for that. For example, let us say the scooter ଯେତେବେଳେ ତମେ ସ୍କୁଟର କିଣୁଛ ସ୍କୁଟର ଯୋଉଟା ଗୋଟେ ଲଙ୍ଗ ଟର୍ମ ଆସେଟ ନା ନାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ଫିକ୍ସଡ ଆସେଟ ନା ନାଇଁ ସ୍କୁଟରଟା ଲାଷ୍ଟ କରିବ ନିଶ୍ଚୟ 5 6 ବର୍ଷ 10 ବର୍ଷ ଦ୍ୟାଟ ଇଜ ଫିକ୍ସଡ ଆସେଟ ସ୍କୁଟର ଲାଗି ଲୋନ ନଉଛ ତମେ ଗୋଟେ ଲଙ୍ଗ ଟର୍ମ ଲୋନ ନବ ଯୋଉଟା 5 4 5 6 ବର୍ଷରେ ପେ ହେବ ଯଦି ତମେ ସର୍ଟ ଟର୍ମ ଲୋନ ନେଲ ତାହେଲେ ତମକୁ ଅସୁବିଧା ହବ ସେ ଲୋକ ତମକୁ 6 ମାସ ପରେ ମାଗିବ ତମେ ଦେଇପାରିବ ସୋ ସେଟା ହେଲା ସ୍କୁଟର ହେଲା ଲଙ୍ଗ ଟର୍ମ ଫାଇନାନ୍ସ बट स्कूटर जो रनिंग कॉस्ट सपोज पेट्रोल लगी तो सेटा तो डे टू डे रिक्वायरमेंट शॉर्ट टर्म फंड नहीं पार बट तुम भावुच गोटे प्रकार वर्किंग कैपिटल परमानेंट जहां भी हेले मोर डेली 100 टका पेट्रोल कर ओके ता ऊपर को को दिन 150 टका हे पर को दिन 130 टका हे पर से जो एक्स्ट्रा 100 टका ऊपर को 50 टका 30 टका सेटा लगी तुम शॉर्ट टर्म नहीं पार कि 100 टका तो परमानेंट जो परमानेंट वर्किंग कैपिटल ता लगी भी गोटे लॉन्ग टर्म फाइनेंस नहीं पारती। सो बिजनेसमैन को ये सब जिन एनालिसिस करिया ओके कि को टाइप रो फंडिंग रिक्वायरमेंट अछि। Accordingly, he will decide long-term finance केमती नबो ना short-term finance. Now let us talk about purpose of long-term finance. Look at the screen. First purpose is to finance fixed assets. That is the finance non-current assets. Second purpose is to the finance the permanent part of the working capital. Working capital fluctuation हुए सबुदिने समान होता है। सपोज तुम सबुदिने कॉलेज जाउछ किसी जरूरी नुह जे सबुदिने तमे 20 टका पॉकेट रे नै कि को दिन तुम अधिका नहीं पर जो एग्जाम अच्छी तुम हुए तो डिसाइड कर पेरा बस रे जीबी ऑटो रे जीबी you might be carrying 100 rupees with you. Other day you might be carrying just 20 rupees with you. So it fluctuates. But there is a minimum part, a minimum level which should be always there. तो जानते केबे भी मो 10 टका रु कम नहीं कि जीबी नहीं 10 टका निहाती दरकार. So that part is permanent. That permanent part of working capital can also be financed through long-term finance. Okay, so fixed assets or non-current assets are to be financed through long-term finance. Permanent part of working capital is also required to be financed through long-term finance. And if some money is required for growth or expansion of the business, today you are having one branch. You are thinking to open one more branch. Today you are having one factory. You are deciding to expand the factory, expand the production capacity. Then you require long-term finance. So you may approach for long-term finance. So these are the purposes. These three purposes which are listed before you on the screen, they are illustrative. You may think beyond that also. You may add additional things. Let me repeat. Purpose to acquire fixed assets. Fixed asset acquire करिया लगी. नहले working capital रो permanent part जोटा सबू दिन दरकार working capital जति की दरकार से part भी long term finance रही परियो. आउ जदि business plan करछि growth लगी और expand करियो जदि business ताहले भी long term finance नहीं पारे. Okay, there are many factors which will be determining the long-term financial requirement. For example, nature of business. Who type of business तमे करछ? कितने तार capital investment, कितने fixed asset दरकार. On that basis, we'll decide whether we'll go for long-term finance or not. Suppose तुम्हारे बड़ा plant करछ, steel factory करियो. Steel factory करियो like the factory करियो like तके 5 वर्ष लागियो, 6 वर्ष लागियो. Okay, so you need long-term finance because after that only production will be started, you'll be generating cash flow, you'll be able to pay back. So 6-7 वर्ष पर then cash flow आसियो जाए pay करियो. So you need long-term finance. The nature of business affects the decision whether you will go for long-term finance or not. The nature of goods produced, that also matters. If goods are produced of such a nature that you can immediately sell and get cash, then you may manage with short-term finance. But goods are such a nature that you need investment. You may plan for long-term finance. To what extent technology is used, that also matters. Okay, technology has got a cost. So, in fact, what it matters is that the cost. How much cost is there? That means cost of assets, cost of production. On that basis, we'll be deciding whether to go for long-term finance or not. On your screen now, you can see various sources of long-term finance. You can see it can be internal sources. When I say internal sources, it can be in the form of equity share capital. It can be also in the form of preference share capital. Equity share capital means each shareholder has got equal right. Each member, one share, one vote. Dividend will be distributed equally. Therefore, it is called equity shares. Preference share is something different. They got preferential right. आगे प्रॉफिट हेले तांको आगे फिक्स डिविडेंड दिया सपोज इट इज 8% प्रेफरेंस शेयर सेमाने आगे डिविडेंड नहीं जिवे तापर पैसा बळिले इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर पाइबे से प्रेफरेंस शेयर भी इशू होई पारि सो इंटरनल फंडिंग से इक्विटी शेयर सब प्रेफरेंस शेयर रिटेन अर्निंग माने रिजर्व्स एंड सरप्लस द बिजनेस जो प्रॉफिट अर्न करे it might be retaining that profit without distributing distribution न करके retain करि पारे business रे in the form of reserves that is the retained earnings of the business okay जो fund रही that actually belong to the equity shareholders so equity shareholder को पैसा टा तांको दिया न है कि reserve and surplus रही that is called as retained earning so internal sources रे तीनटा देखि external sources रे एक डिबेंचर माने शेयर भलिया किंतु एटा लोन शेयर किनिले यू बिकम ए ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी यू आर ए फ्रैक्शनल ओनर डिबेंचर किनिले यू आर द लेंडर टू द कंपनी तमे कंपनी की लोन देइछे तमे एक फिक्स्ड परसेंटेज इंटरेस्ट आनियो पिपाइबो आ गोटे फिक्स्ड पीरियड रे तमको रिपेमेंट हेजियो कंपनी फेरे सेटा कोन डिबेंचर टर्म लोन माने गोटे फिक्स्ड टर्म लागी 8 वर्ष 10 वर्ष लागी लोन माइरा ओके अलगा केते प्रकार लॉन्ग टर्म क्रेडिट भी अछि डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट भी अछि ओके जोठु की लॉन्ग टर्म किसी फिक्स्ड पीरियड लागी तमे जाय स्पेसिफिक लोन अछि सपोज प्रोजेक्ट लोन ओके सो एई टाइप रो किसी लोन अछि कि स्पेसिफिक लोन हाउसिंग लोन ओके विभिन्न स्कीम अछि जोथि तमे अदर फॉर्म रे भी एक्सटर्नल सोर्सेस लॉन्ग टर्म फंड आए I think you got some idea about the internal as well as external sources of long-term finance. Let us quickly discuss what are the sources of long-term capital. In fact, we'll try to list it out. First source is equity. What is this? This equity means equity shares. Money can be collected in the form of equity shares. Equity shares ru paisa asibo. तामाने तमे shareholder हबो, you'll be having equal right. जितने शेयर सही हिसाब रे तमन राइट अछि 10टा शेयर 10टा वोट तो सही हिसाब रे डिविडेंड पाइब 10टा शेयर डिविडेंड पाइब डेब्ट इंस्ट्रूमेंट तमे जानला जेमिति कहली डिबेंचर और बॉन्ड कंपनी ना बॉन्ड किनिबो फिक्स्ड रेट रे इंटरेस्ट पाइबो आउ रिपेमेंट भी पाइब सो कंपनी इक्विटी सोर्स रु पैसा कलेक्ट करे बॉन्ड सोर्स रु पैसा कलेक्ट करे for you it might be investment but for company these are the sources of long term capital similarly term loan it's one more loan term loan means for a fixed term suppose you buy a vehicle on loan you'll be saying vehicle loan is for 8 years 5 years like this within that period you have to pay within that term you have to pay therefore that is called term preference share as I told you it is a share but they have preferential right over equity shares इक्विटी शेयर को डिविडेंड दबा आगुरु तांको दिया हबो बट एट ए फिक्स्ड परसेंटेज इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर को कम होई पारे बेसी इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर जहां लास्ट प्रॉफिट मिलियो ताको इक्वली बांटी दे प्रेफरेंस शेयर फिक्स्ड प्रेफरेंस शेयर तो इशू है तादरोटे हाय केते परसेंट डिविडेंड दिया हबो सेटा आगुरु जणाता है सपोज 8% प्रेफरेंस शेयर 8% दिया हबो 9% प्रेफरेंस शेयर 9% डिविडेंड दिया हबो से माने एते आगुरु नीचे Next source है hybrid securities. It is about what is this hybrid security? So we may call it as convertibles. That means it has the प्रकार hybrid means mixer. Partly it will behave like debt, partly it will behave like equity. এটা কেমিতি হবো এমিতি হেই পারে ফার্স্ট 5 বর্ষ ইট ইজ এ ডেপ্ট ফিক্সড ইন্টারেস্ট 5 বর্ষ পরে সেটা অপশন থিব কনভার্ট হইଯିବ ইকুইটি তাহলে এটা কনভার্টেবল হলা না partly debt partly equity কিছু পিরিয়ড হলা debt কিছু পরে equity we call it as hybrid security they will behave like equity as well as plus debt बड़े बड़े इन्वेस्टर इन्वेस्ट करती है इन्वेस्टर इन्वेस्ट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कन्वर्टेबल्स फास्ट से माने डेप्ट बड़े ट्रीट हो 5 वर्ष तापर के 3 वर्ष कि 2 वर्ष डिपेंड्स तापर इक्विटी शेयर को कन्वर्ट है सेला हाइब्रिड सिक्योरिटी और कन्वर्टेबल्स Then internal funds reserve and surplus ମୁଁ କହିଥିଲି profit ଯେତେ generate ହୁଏ ତାକୁ ରଖିକି internal fund generate ହେଇପାରିବ. Okay, these are the sources of long-term capital. Now let us quickly see what are the issues relating to financing decision. Financing decision କଥା ଜାଣିଲେ, it may be for raising equity, maybe for raising debt. So these are the issues. Some of the issues we have already discussed. Let us quickly recapitulate and discuss this again. One is cost. I'm financing decision now. Market cost to janiba. If the market to you want to buy something, first you go and ask the price. Same thing. Equity cost kete, debt cost kete, preference share cost kete. हमें जानिबा. That is why we are going to teach you a chapter cost of capital. ताल तो पढ़ियो. सागे cost जाने. Then what is the important issue with risk? इतने कितने risk अच्छे. Loan गोटे नहीं जी भी मो 15% है कि तो interest दे परिवी तो. कारण more profit हो कि ना हो interest तो दबा ऊपर. So risk is one more issue. Return. Return means profit or earning. A loan नेले more profit बढ़ी जीवा ना कमी. Equity नेले profit बढ़ी जीवा ना कमी. So the impact on return is one more thing. Timing. Loan ସେମାନେ ଯେତେ expect କରୁଛନ୍ତି ବର୍ଷେ ପରେ monthly I have to pay EMI. Whether I will be paying it, I will be able to pay. Pay କରିପାରିବି ନା. Loan ସେମାନେ କେତେବେଳେ sanction କରିକି ମତେ ପଇସା release କରିବେ. The timing is one more issue. और यदि equity issue करीबी केबे मते पैसा टा. Then issue cost. Equity issue कले issue करिबा लागि भी गोटे cost अछि. Issue expenses. सेमति loan apply कले तो खाली interest नो तार गोटे processing cost. So that is one more issue. Then terms and condition. को condition रे loan मिलछ. Loan पहला बेल को गोटे term sheet पूरा sign କରିବାକୁ पड़ियो केते पेज रो. तार कोन condition अछि कोन security अछि सेगुडा सब देखियो. A loan or equity जो आनिला परे, what is the impact on WACC? WACC means weighted average cost of capital. I'm पढ़िबे future. WACC, weighted average cost of capital. So विभिन्न component अछि capital ला समस्तଙ୍କର अलगा अलगा cost अछि तार weighted cost. Weighted cost, weight into cost. तार weighted cost ऊपर कोन impact पड़िबो, that is also one more issue. Impact on value. Value means far from value. मोर फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट रो ऑब्जेक्टिव है फार्म रो वैल्यू किमती बढ़ियो वैल्यू एक्सपेंस तार कोन इंपैक्ट होची सेटा भी कंसीडर करिया. एंड फाइनली कंट्रोल माने सपोज तम पकरा अछि बर्तन 80% शेयर तमे कंपनी कंट्रोल करछ. जे नुवा इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर आसी तम 80% सपोज कमी के गेला 70% तम कंट्रोल कम हे. जदि कमी 50% तळ को आसला तम कंट्रोल बहुत कम हे. सो एगुडा हला सब इंपैक्ट आ कोंदी कंट्रोल. To what extent you are controlling the business. So these are the issues relating to financing business. Okay, friends, today we are going to close our session here. We discussed almost the major part of the first part of Unit 2. And in the second part of Unit 2, this first part was little theoretical. Second part, we'll be learning about computation of cost of equity and cost of debt. Little technical, set apart ticket technical however. So, but still you will be attentive, you'll be able to do it. Okay, so we'll stop here today and we'll catch up some other time. Thank you very much.